Hello, welcome to this week's class. We're going to be working on the pelvis today. You'll just need your mat and a flat cushion to support underneath your head so that you can get good alignment. So we're going to start by lying down on our backs with our knees bent, feet flat on the floor. Feel your head resting heavily into the cushion, feel your tail resting heavily into the mat, and just relaxing out there, getting a sense of the back spreading and lengthening. Now we're going to start with an anterior and posterior tilt of the pelvis. So we're going to tilt one way and then the other. So just rolling forward and back and feeling the tail, feeling the sensation of where your tail is at any point. And then we're going to stop in the middle. And from here we're going to try to keep still in the pelvis as we slide one leg away and then slide it back in. Using your inhalation to lengthen the leg and using your exhalation to fold it back in again. So at all times you're feeling that you're staying really still and there's no anterior or posterior pelvic tilt as you do this. The tail stays still on the mat. Make this one your last one. And then we're going to stop in the middle. And we're going to start to do spine curls. So here we are looking to really rotate through the pelvis. So start that movement off, tilting just as we did before, but then continuing that movement, continuing that tilt. The pubic bone will get a sense that it's moving towards your rib cage. Keep that movement going, you'll find that it peels your spine up off the floor and then peel all the way back down again through the imprint and back into neutral. And now we can start to add on arms lifting at the same time and lowering. So I'd like you to exhale as you lift up into that spine curl and inhale to lower. One more here. Now we're going to think about movement from right to left, so this rolling here. So just imagine your two, where you feel your two hip bones here, and just roll them from side to side. So as one picks up, the other lowers down to the floor. And that sense of movement from side to side. And again, notice where your sacrum is against the floor. There's a midpoint and then it rolls left to right. And then we're going to stop in the middle. We're going to keep that really, really still. We're going to open one leg out to the side, trying to avoid any sensation of left to right in the sacrum. I'd like you to inhale as the leg comes out to the side and exhale to bring it back. Upper body nice and relaxed. Okay, last one here. And then we're going to go into hip rolls. So now we're going to connect the feet together and we are going to allow that rotation hip to right to left. So I want you now to remember that feeling of lifting left to right, what it felt like under the tail, And then we're going to roll the hips from one side and over to the other. Now as you do this, you may feel that you need a bit of stability from your arms, so you can take your arms wide. But if you're feeling that you're able to keep the shoulders nice and balanced, then what you can do to add a little bit extra challenge here is to float the opposite arm up as you go. And then what you want to focus on here is then keeping the ribs fixed so that the ribs are not flaring out. These are your rib cage closure arms. So now I'm going to add one more movement in for you. We're going to hitch the hips up and down. So if you were standing, it will be like when you do a hip hitch there. So I'd like you to lift one hip bone up towards the same shoulder and lower, and then lift the other hip bone up towards the shoulder and lower. So alternating sides of the waist start to feel shorter. And then just add a little bit more challenge. You're going to just hover off the floor, and we're going to do the same movement, shortening alternate sides of the waist. So feeling what it's like when you're moving, kind of circling around. Okay, and then we're going to lower, when we're back in the middle, we're going to lower back down to the floor. We're going to try to keep really still there and avoid this, this rotating action here, the hip hitch. As we slide one leg out to the side, so we're trying to keep this side of the waist long, and then bring it back in. And then again, out to the other side, and bring it in. So I'm sliding the leg off the floor, so I'm not really having to work to maintain the lift, otherwise it involves a lot more than I'm looking to here. I want us really to have this focus on avoiding the hip hitch. Okay, and then after this one, slide the knees back in. We're going to roll onto the side. So, inside lying, you're going to have your head resting on your cushion here. So once you're inside lying, I'd like you to think about a straight line going through the arm, the shoulders, the hips and the feet. Little gap underneath your waist so that your spine is straight, one hip's directly above the other. And we're going to do that same pelvic tilting movement that we did before. Now it'll feel different to on the floor because now we can't feel the sacrum rolling forward and back. So just get a sense of what it feels like in your own body to be rolling forward and back. And then you're going to stop in the middle. Lift the leg up no higher than hip height. And then from here, we're going to kick forward and we're going to extend behind, and we're going to try to stay in that neutral position. So you'll want to do that same anterior posterior pelvic tilt you were doing. But you're going to resist that with just enough support to keep stable as you work through this movement. Just a natural breathing pattern here. Okay, and then after this one, we're going to lower, and then we're going to think about rolling back and rolling forward in the pelvis. So just have a roll forward. So this is your rotation really. Top hip's going to come behind the bottom hip, and then it's going to go in front of the bottom hip. So we're just experiencing what that feels like. You can also experience what it's like on the outside of your hip when you're in these different positions. Notice how you roll forward and back there. And then I'd like you to stop in the middle. And we're going to do oyster. So we're going to try to avoid any rolling as we open and close the leg. So here I'd like you to exhale as you open, inhale as you close. And now we're going to think about the hip hitch idea. So with the hip hitch, we're thinking about shortening between the hip and the shoulder in both directions. And then stop in the middle. And now we're going to try to avoid the hip hitch as we lift the leg and lower, keeping the shins parallel. So here you're going to be tempted to drop this hip towards the shoulder, but you're going to resist this. Exhale as you lift, inhale as you lower. And stop here. Now we're going to roll onto our tummies. And we're going to think first of all about anterior and posterior tilt. So you can have your forehead either on the floor or on your cushion. Just have your arms here. And we're going to be tilting forward and backwards. Stop in the middle, and now we're going to see if we can lift both legs off the floor without that posterior anterior tilt. So here we're lifting up and down. Exhaling to lift, inhaling to lower. Now we're going to do side to side. So just experience that rolling side to side. And then here, to challenge the ability to stay still, you're going to lift just one leg and lower. Notice whether you can do this without rolling from side to side. Notice whether you can do this keeping the shoulders quiet. And then we're going to stop and we're going to hitch the hip up to the shoulder, hitch the other hip up, Alternating here, feel like you're shortening one side of the body and then shortening the other side of the body. And then stop in the middle, so both sides of the waist are equally long. Lengthen the leg out to the side and bring it in. And then lengthen the other leg out to the side and bring it in, keeping both sides of the waist long. Okay, while we're here, we're also going to just lift the breastbone off the floor, come into a back extension and lower. And again, we're avoiding that anterior posterior tilt in the pelvis, lengthening up and forward. Okay, after this one, push yourself up and or roll straight over. We're going into side lying the other way. So setting ourselves up once again, straight line between your arm, shoulder, hips and feet, knees bent forward. And we're going to start with tilting back and tilting forward. Keep that waist off the floor. Getting that sense of what it feels like to be rotated one way, what it feels like to be rotated the other way. And then we're going to stop in the middle. Lift the leg up to no higher than hip height. Now we're going to avoid that rotation as we bring the knee forward and as we take the knee behind. So we're trying to stay really still here. Just keep breathing. And then lower down, and now we're going to rock forward and back. So your top hip comes in front of and then behind the lower part of that pelvis. Becoming very aware of how it feels as you rock over the hips. Then stay in the middle, staying aware of where you're positioned on that pelvis. You're going to challenge the ability to stay still by opening and closing the knee. Exhale to open, inhale to close. And now we're going to be doing the hip hitches. So hitching one side of the hips up to shoulder, other hip up to shoulder. and then we're going to stop in the middle and we're going to go to the book cover exercise. So keeping the shins parallel, avoiding any hip hitching, lift and lower. Exhaling as you lift, inhaling as you lower as before. And then we're going to go on to 4-point kneeling. So push yourselves up. Once again, we're going to start with that tilt forward and back. Good 4-point kneeling positions though, just double check that you've got the support through your shoulders, through your core, through your hands, entire palm of the hand and all the fingers pressing to the floor rather than just the wrists. Breastbone lifting, and then from here we're going to tilt the pelvis one way and tilt it the other. So you'll notice effectively what we're doing here is cat and extended cat. If we make this a bit bigger, we can end up going into that cat and the extended cat. So again, observe what it feels like in your pelvis as you tilt forward and back. And then you're going to stay still here and try to keep it, the pelvis still as you rock back and forward. So there will be a temptation to tilt your pelvis as you move back and forth, but you're going to try your best to keep it still, balancing a bowl of water on your pelvis here so it doesn't roll forward and back. In your mind's eye, not really, not unless you're feeling brave. Okay, and then stop in the middle. Then we're going to do our rotational work. So here we're going to pick one knee up and lift it straight up towards the ceiling, and then we'll lift the other knee up. So this is what it feels like in your pelvis when you lose that stability. So bring all your attention there. Making sure that you're still in a really good alignment through the whole body. And then we're going to try and stay still as we take one leg out to the side and back. Same leg. So you'll be noticing there'll be a temptation to lift this hip up to the ceiling, but you're going to keep it fixed. And then we'll try the other side. Exhaling to lift, inhaling to lower. Last one. And then we're going to do the hip hitch. So shortening one side of the waist and then shortening the other, hip bone to shoulder, alternating sides. Bringing your attention to what it feels like when you create this rotation in your hips. And then stop in the middle. Take one leg out And we're just going to slide it out to the side, and again we're going to try to keep really still here so we avoid that rotation, avoid any sense of the shoulders, the side of the waist shortening. Exhaling as you take the leg out, inhaling as it comes back, making sure you keep your thigh vertical and you don't end up gradually working your way over to the opposite side. Bring the leg in, and then we'll do the same on the opposite side. Last one here. And then come to sitting. So this is the last of the positions we'll be working on today. So here, sitting with a neutral spine, we're going to tilt the pelvis, so forward and back here. You should be able to feel what it's like to roll over that tailbone onto the sacrum. And then right up onto your sitting bones. If you want a little bit more challenge, you can take this to a half roll back, so you take the arms away and you do the same movement. It's all about rolling over that pelvis. And then we're going to stop and come into a little balance here. Well, not a balance, over here. You're going to try and keep still there. Take one leg away, take the other leg away. One leg away, a leg away. So you're bringing, hang on, I need to start again. So the next exercise, you're going to bring one knee in and then the other. One knee down and then the other. And you're trying not to roll forwards and back. As you do this, it will be tempting. And then as you get better, you can start to take both legs in and both legs down, but it's really important that we maintain that same position and just mobilise through the hips. So if that's too much, then go back to one leg at a time. Okay, now we're going to do that kind of rotation. So here, hands back. You can have your hands pointing forward if your wrists can tolerate it. Otherwise, your hands can go to the side or behind you. Make sure that you're feeling broad across the chest. And then we're going to do some rolling from side to side. So here we've got that rotational movement. And then we're going to continue that movement, rolling from side to side. So this is our can-can movement. To add a little bit more work, we can add a straight leg. Just being mindful that you're maintaining your body in good alignment, not starting to sag down to the floor. You know who you are. Watching that you're not hyperextending the elbows either. Keeping the knee on the floor, keeping both feet on the floor and not extending the knee if you're finding it's too much. Okay, last one here. And then we'll go into legs forward. Now you might want to sit up on a block or a cushion for this. We're going to go into spine twist. So here we're trying to avoid that sense of rotating. So again, feel what it's like to rotate. Hold it still. Lift up through the crown of the head, turn the eyes, neck, thoracic spine, and then just make sure that you don't twist through the hips there. Then you're going to untwist. Take it the other way, eyes, neck, thoracic spine, but the pelvis itself is going to resist and stay still. You'll be inhaling to lengthen up to the centre and exhaling to rotate to the side. And then hold it here. Now we're going to do a hip hitch from one side to the other. Shortening the waist on either side. Show you from a different angle. Spine is in neutral. And again, become aware of what it feels like when that sitting bone lifts off the floor. You can be here if you prefer, or here. And then we're going to go into side reach, and we're going to try to keep that grounding evenly between the two sitting bones. So lift the arm up, reach over. See how you can keep that hip bone on the floor, that sitting bone on the floor. Bring it up. Now take the other arm up and reach over. We want that fine control so there's no tilting side to side in the hips. It all happens through the spine. And then after this one, swing yourself down, throw yourself onto the floor. Ground your head into the floor, feet into the floor. Take a deep breath in, wide into the rib cage and into the back of the ribs. And breathing out. Relaxing the muscles in your face, relaxing the muscles in your jaw. Letting the tongue drop away from the roof of the mouth. Relaxing your shoulders, pelvis, stomach. And then if you want, you can stay here, or you can roll onto your side and congratulate yourself on a job well done.